Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Chupacabra Tutorials channel. I'm your host, Larry the Chupacabra, and today we're gonna talk about some presets inside of Premiere Pro before I go out and design my Premiere Pro Basics tutorial. And today we're gonna talk about how to remove the fisheye lens effect from a GoPro camera or a GoPro similar camera. Like, I'm using the Wimius sort of Wi-Fi GoPro alternative. It's like $60. It's a cheap little knockoff, basically. But it does a pretty good job, takes pretty decent video. It could be a little bit better, but that's what you get when you put it inside of one of those protective cases. But I sort of looked at it, and we'll just scrub around here on the timeline. It's really fisheyed, and it's hard to see when I drive around my pasture and go look and pick up trash and stuff. It's kind of hard to see what's going on, so I figured I would fix that. And the good news is, Premiere Pro, because GoPros are such a widely used camera in the sporting world, they have some presets under the Effects tab that you can use. So you just go to this Presets button over here, and you go down to the Lens Distortion Removal. And in here, why, my goodness, there is a GoPro folder. And basically, it's just changing the lens curvature in the video. It's not gonna, like, physically change your camera's lens, but it's just changing the curvature of the footage to kind of fix it. This just happens to be some really convenient, you know, pre-made presets that you can then fiddle if you don't have a GoPro like I do, and you can get it so it looks more or less like what you want. So this cheapo thing, I think it's probably like a Hero 3. It's definitely not so old a technology that it would be a Hero 2, but if you're using a GoPro, all of the most recent ones are here. And then let's see, let's pick the Hero 3 folder, and there's a whole bunch of different settings here. So the first thing you want to do is pick the resolution that matches up to what you recorded. This thing does go up to 1440p, but I don't do that because I don't need that level of resolution. But this was 1080p video, and it's at about a medium wide angle sort of distortion if you look here. Another way to tell what you need to look for is if you have a stationary object that you drove up to. This is a garage door in the barn. It's pretty fisheyed. I kind of know what a garage door is supposed to look like. So I'm actually going to trim around this section, just because these sort of effects can be a little laggy on your computer, and I'm running a video recorder at the same time, so I'm going to throw narrow. Or actually not narrow, I'm going to throw the medium one on it. That's about a medium fisheye effect. And that looks pretty good, but the trouble here is that while this does remove the distortion, it does also slightly zoom in because it has to edit the image that the camera produced in order to fix it, which causes a little bit of fidgetiness to the image. So it's actually zoomed in a little bit on the footage. So if I can actually undo those clips, I think. Let's go back to where we did the razor effect to clip it. And let's drag this to the whole timeline and see what it looks like. It actually looks pretty good. This is looking a lot better. And if you look in the background, it just kind of tightens up the lines on things so that they're not wavy. And if we go into the video itself and we look inside the lens distortion preset, all it's doing is there's this curvature setting here. It's just changing the curvature of the image to get rid of the sort of rounded spherical effect that happens. Now, should you, for any reason, need to fix, you know, some vertical decentering or some horizontal decentering, you can do that stuff here. I don't necessarily know when to use a lot of this, but if it gets recommended to you because of whatever camera that you have, a guide online tells you, oh, just adjust the centering, then you can do that right through this preset. But for the most part, the only thing you need to fiddle with is this curvature preset. And if I turn this off and I grab the 1440p wide, all it's doing is changing the curvature. That's all it's doing. It's just adjusting that a certain different degree out of 100 so for each different preset. So I know from experimentation that my preferred preset is around -22. So I can re-enable this, and that's not bad. Let's actually bump that to -23 and see what that looks like. And it takes a second for it to adjust because this is some heavy-ish editing on the side of the computer. But that looks pretty good. And if I go over here, let's drive up to where we've got that fence. There we go. So this fence is looking a little bit oh, that's really wobbly. Let's move back a second. Let's go back and let's see. Yeah, look how fish-eyed that is. Now let's copy this effect from the previous clip and edit it onto here. Now that looks pretty good. I might fiddle with it because it does kind of look a little bowed at the edges here. I might fiddle with it a little bit more. But this was just a video I wanted to share with people with like what it's like to live in the country for my video subscribers who wanted to see what it's like to live out in, you know, the prairie area. Because a lot of people I have subscribed live in the city area and they're not quite used to that. So I'm like, whatever, I'll just make a quick little time lapse when we go explore around in the pasture, or I do, going up and picking up trash that blows in from the neighbors. Lots and lots of open prairie and wildflowers here and there and everywhere. And I might actually go through to type in warp for the warp stabilizer and then stabilize the footage, because if I turn off lens correction, I'm also going to mute this track, you can see that it's a little bit bouncy, because this is just, I just taped this thing, because it comes with a little sticky pad. I just taped it onto the front of the vehicle, so it kind of wobbles up and down a little bit as it goes. Easily fixed, but that's just something that I can edit out and post. So that basically is how you fix the fisheye camera distortion for GoPro style cameras. This works for a variety of cameras. If it has a fisheye effect, you can use those presets in here to do just that. And there's a number of presets in here, so if you ever need to fix something, I recommend just fiddling with these different lens distortion repairs because they're pretty good. Although, you probably don't have a Phantom Vision camera, but there's a lot of different presets in the presets panel that you can use for a number of different purposes. It's kind of like using filters in Photoshop. I recommend fiddling with them so that you know when to use them, and sometimes it's just fun to experiment, to make really crazy videos. So that's it for this one, ladies and gentlemen. I've been your host, Larry the Chupacabra. If you have any questions on this, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll help you out as best as I can. Otherwise, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will catch you guys and gals next time. Toodles, everybody.